Dean, back on the poddy. Welcome.
Back on the video.
Yeah. To be fair, mate, we just didn't have the equipment at the time. So it's good to have you back on for sure. Obviously, mate, big episode as well, right?
Yeah,
Come
sure.
down to the old Kingsley offices. Super smart, by the way. Proper like the setup you got here today.
We had a lot of people coming in now for meetings and stuff, and people wanting to see what we're doing. And as much as like our properties, you want them to look good, don't you? Someone comes in, they want to know who they're working with, what they're doing. And also for staff, no one wants to come to some back street office and
Magnolia walls.
It's true, yeah. You want to come in and have a bit of pride, have a bit of passion about it. So
It's first impressions, isn't it? First impressions always count.
yeah.
And also with property as well, like this is the product, so it needs to look smart because otherwise other people aren't going to want to work with you.
Yeah, I think as well. So obviously over the time, as you know, since COVID, contractors, builders, it's hard to come by. And when you've got a nice office and you're starting to do a lot of projects, we found now that contractors, when we book a meeting, they come to see it, they want to work with us. I suppose the easiest way to say it is now it feels like a proper outfit rather than just Dean throwing some buildings together.
Yeah.
And that's been the big thing for us, is changing that.
Rather than being like cowboys, isn't it? Not saying you were a cowboy, just
No,
saying.
absolutely right. That's it. You got me rocking around in a 2007 2,500 quid tipper. It's a lot different, isn't it, when you're turning up and there's a team of people when you turn up, and even little things, having the right people to, since we spoke last time, having the right now construction manager and things as well. It's huge.
Yeah.
Also, it sounds like you lead by example, turning up in the tipper. Because in construction, there's a bit of a misconception about the owners and the bosses, because if they do turn up and, they're fresh Bentleys or whatnot, then instantly the people working on site just think, I don't want to work for them.
Yeah, I think there's a balance as well. I'm massive on not creating a hierarchy. I really don't want there to be, although don't get me wrong, working in my own office, like a side of the team, is what I need. I work best when I'm on my own. Not right now. I have to be in and around the team and make sure that their queries are answered, and we're developing the process as we want to develop it. We've just started launching now our video calls, rather than booking 20 viewings, creating a video and doing video tours with people. It only happened last week. We did first four video calls after training the girl how to do them. First 4 video calls, all 4 agreed new tenants, and it saved us so much time.
Yeah.
So much time. Not only, all right, we're still there physically on the phone, physically doing a walk round, and I think we can tweak that even further, but look, one step at a time, make sure we actually nail what we're wanting to get through on the video first, and then we'll try and develop something where it's, I wouldn't say pre-recorded, but much more automated. But it's worked so well. She did 2 or 3 on her own, and we talking beforehand before this about training staff and our team and where we're going with it. And I did like a 45-minute just a training with the team. Right, this is like a role play, if you like, and she went straight out that afternoon, banged out 4 lets in one go.
It's decent. I think that's the evolution as well. I can't see there being any other way of doing those viewings. Do you know what I mean?
I think what's good about it as well is people can do it then. You can capture a bigger audience in a shorter period of time. People don't need to worry about coming from their lunch break in Poole to Bournemouth Town Centre when they got 45 minutes. It's stuff like that.
It's the convenience.
It is really convenient. And you can still, I believe we're developing, and obviously I like to change things every week. I was saying that earlier as well. We constantly, even every day I'm changing. Don't say this to someone, say that to someone. Try and do this for someone to make it easier for them. We'll see how it goes, but it worked last week. It was really, really, really good.
Yeah,
really good.
I would say, like, from a consumer's perspective, like, that's game changing, because I didn't even think about it from that side of it, the coin, like having to travel and then get it in a 45-minute and then get back and get the right slot. Like, it is just that level of convenience. So I can see that being huge.
It's true as well. It's not even, some of the places you got in town centres and in and around the town centres where most, and even if some of our places come with parking or there's easy parking arrangements, and that's the next thing we're doing now is trying to team up with a with local car parks and be able to maybe on top of the rent have a charge, but people get a guaranteed parking space very nearby, and that's worked well for us too.
Yeah.
I bet working in town centre, you get so many issues with the parking.
Oh, loads.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
loads.
that full service, isn't it? Just trying to make it as good as possible for the customer, just through every little action and every little tick box that you can do to make it an easier sell or let for them.
Yeah, I think making the moving process is the biggie, because people want to move. Yeah, people want to move house. They need to move house. There's still not enough houses for people. We all know that. And basing it on our principles of when we started back in the day when I was doing rent to rent, of an easy way in. Don't worry about the credit checks or the guarantors. We've tweaked that slightly. There is a criteria to fit as such, but we'd capture more than 90% of people applying quite easily.
What is that criteria now?
I think for me is most of it just comes down to earnings. So from a responsible point of view as well, not just making my job easier and chasing arrears in the office, but actually from a responsible point of view, not trying to move someone into somewhere that's 900 quid a month and they earn 1,200. You know there's going to be a problem. And just focusing a little bit on that. And then obviously we can put them somewhere maybe they can afford, or we can find a way, if their partner's moving in or whatever, it's a joint application if you like. And I make it sound like it's a lengthy application process. You can still, there is no doubt about it. You could right now, going back to that video call, you could message us now, do a video call now in one of our properties and rent it now and move in within an hour. I mean,
Do you reckon turnaround time could be that fast, like an hour?
not even, like, you could turn up now. You could turn up to view one of our properties and move in there and then if you wanted to.
That's unreal.
Yeah. But that's also changed, and it sounds quite easy just to do that, but making sure that the property is actually 110% ready for that to happen, making sure that the cleaning's done and the presentation's right and the mattress has not got a stain on it and all those little things, making sure that turnaround can happen is a bit lengthy in the background, but I think we're nailing it. Yeah. Well, we're starting to nail it. I never say I nail anything, but yeah.
But obviously, like, getting to that point must be like, it's a big transition from when you first started. What was like the original concept for Kingsley in terms of like the demographic and like who you were going after, and I guess just like the value proposition of the business?
I think in the early days, it's always been, and it still is now, can we accept people that no one else is prepared to accept? And that's still now what we're trying to achieve.
What makes someone not, I don't want to say worthy, but not able to be accepted by those other, say, people that are renting?
So look, they do, when you go for a high street agent, as I'm sure you boys know over the years, you have to hit a criteria. You have to have a certain amount of earnings. You have to have a certain credit score. And you have to have a certain amount of money. Yeah, most people want larger deposits, months up front, stuff like that. And all of that we can change. We can accept as little as a few £100 to move into somewhere, where most people are going to want a few grand. And what we're producing is nice. It's not like we're offering substandard stuff. We're developing stuff and turning it around as though if I wanted just a little bolt hole in a town somewhere, that's something I would rent and it's something I would move into. And that's how we're developing. It's not that we're just knocking something together. Everything is done to the latest regs, the right sound insulation, noise cancelling insulation.
You wouldn't even think about that, would you? Well, I wouldn't, because obviously I'm not in property, right?
Well, actually, it's one of the biggest things, is we're just, to run a tight team, you have to look at all the angles of where your phone line is going to get consumed. And it sounds ridiculous, but rubbish Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
people are going to be on your back for it. Things being too noisy, people will be on your back for it. Not enough hot water or electric supply tripping out because the neighbour next door has plugged in all of their podcast equipment. It's just little things like that. We're trying to constantly change and better and better.
Those tiny details make such a difference.
Yeah, and again, it's like you say, it's things you wouldn't even think about, but you look at a flat and go, this is nice, but actually is it, when you're living there, is it quiet? Now, I'm not saying that all of our properties are absolutely silent, but certainly I think most, especially all of our newly developed stuff, the way the the way that they're constructed and soundproof, but even between floors is sometimes a bit extreme. But that's one massive thing that we get as a landlord, you will get hit back on. And I'm just trying to free up how can we reduce our phone line so then we don't need to employ a load of staff. And it's not just to not wanting to employ a load of staff to save cost as a business owner. It's to give a better service as well. You know, if you call up and you're like, oh yeah, that's our maintenance team you need to deal with, or that's our accounts team, or that's this team, it makes the whole service a bit shitty, a bit more fobbed off. Whereas if you can have one point of contact and that person has the time because they're not getting held up with petty stuff because everything's done right at the start, it keeps their phone line free. They can look after more people. The people get a better service in the end because they've got one point of contact that seems to resolve everything. And it's working so far.
It makes more sense to play it like that as well. Don't you think, Cal?
Yeah, I just think that one point of contact as well, it creates trust between you and your client. Call it a client, but as a landlord, you build trust with them because they think I can just ring this one person, he'll sort it all out, rather than fob me off onto him or him or him, and then it takes so long to sort the issues out.
And also, it's just removing the headaches, all the little petty stuff. But obviously, in terms of the customer, so it's less of a deposit.
Yep.
What else is it in particular?
I'm not worried about someone's credit history. There's been several talks about us maybe introducing guarantors, but at this stage, I just don't see the need to it. Our arrears as a group are incredible. We're sat here now going through our end of year, and when you talk to the accountant, they just don't believe the arrears. And
why do you reckon that is? Because of the service element?
I think so, and I think as well we are accepting of people and their situations. And don't get me wrong, we get stung. We're not perfect. I'm not nailed this incredible model and routine that absolutely bulletproof, but our level of stinging is much less. And I'll tell you why. We brought a portfolio last year, and one of the houses in that portfolio was out on a rent to rent until October this year, right? Nothing we could do about it. We knew that was part of the deal. But they recently tried to hand it back to us early and said, look, we can hand it back now if you want. We've got other stuff we can move on to. One house, 7 rooms at a £7,800 arrears. That's more than our entire portfolio.
Wow.
That's more than double our entire portfolio.
Yeah, that's insane. Do you think because you are taking those people, like, subprime is the only way to put it, it's not the only way to put it. It sounds pretty cold, but like it is. That's how you would like specify it. But like because you are taking them people and you're giving them like a second chance, and you're being sound at the start, not taking huge deposits, and being like, "Here, we help you get back on your feet." Do you think that pays dividends long term?
A lot of the time. Sometimes no. Sometimes it bites us, but you can't change that is our business model, yeah, and that's what we always remember is that is our business model, and we can't. I think everyone in the team is quite understanding now that one bad egg can't ruin the business model. I don't know. It's what the tenants seem happy with what we're producing, and they seem to play ball with our rules. So
I rate it, mate. Also, you say about one bad egg. Is there one case in particular that you can remember where you're like, fucking hell, this guy was a nightmare?
Oh yeah.
Go on, give us it then.
Oh, it was bad.
Do you want to get it?
I won't give the full story,
just
but
context.
Certainly I'll tell you the guy. We brought this portfolio. There was a guy in Yeovil, one of the rooms there, and I'm no doctor, but I wouldn't say he was mentally stable. It was he literally, because the portfolio is run by a lady in the office who we brought it from. He literally just tore her apart constantly, and huge rent arrears, and we clawed it back. In the end, he ended up leaving us, and there was maybe a couple of grand outs. No, it wouldn't have been that much after the deposit, but for our duration, we managed to maintain him and manage him. But he was that bad, he said to them, he said, all right, give me my deposit back and I'll move out. And he already owed them a lot of money, and they just went, do you know what, for the headache, have it back. They gave the man his deposit back. He stayed there. You just think, wow. And he constantly tried to play victim. And that's what annoyed me, actually. And that's what annoys me with a lot of tenants. I'm not saying I'm the most amazing landlord the world has ever seen, but certainly the most amazing Britain's ever seen. But people that play the victim constantly, and I get it, I'm first, you know me, I'm first to hold my hands up and say, look, yeah, we're at fault there. And I do that sometimes now. If there's a delay on a move-in or someone's services have gone down for an extended period of time, and I would say 24 hours is an extended period of time, by the way. Anything that someone is without for more than 24 hours is an extended period of time. And whether that be Wi-Fi or something not working as it should, an oven not working properly, more than 24 hours is our time. And but the people that then use that, I didn't have Wi-Fi, so I'm not gonna pay my rent, and you're like, come on,
mate, it's mad. I've obviously I've grown up with my mum, and like she always made sure you had your rent money. Like that's just the baseline. You'd always be able to pay your rent. So I never even thought people didn't, and it sounds stupid, but people just didn't pay their rent.
Oh, it's common.
Do you know what I mean?
It's so common. Yeah,
just didn't pay the rent.
Oh, it's really common.
I didn't even know you could get away with that.
Yeah, so common. Do you know what bugs me with the system, actually? The people that apply that get universal credit. Now, universal credit incorporates many other benefits as well. So let's not just say it's solely for housing. Part of it is your housing benefit. But people that claim that, keep it and don't pay their rent,
yeah,
that's legal in this country.
That's madness, isn't it?
Of course. And what is then illegal if the landlord tries to go around and get them out? That's the illegal part. So the government, the government, whatever, whoever, however you want to politically say it, pay this money to the person. They're allowed to keep it, not pay the landlord, and the landlord's the one at fault if he tries to move them out. And it's just nonsense, absolute nonsense.
The wrong way around.
It's that victim's mentality, though, isn't it?
I get sometimes there can be legitimate reasons for someone not to pay, right? There really can. This is not a blanket. Everyone that's not paid is rubbish. There are a lot of cases, and a lot more complex cases than people don't realise as to why people can't pay. But point blank refusal because you've had no Wi-Fi for 3 hours, it happens.
It's mental. I don't even know why they just don't pay the landlord directly.
But there are cases, again, that's a whole application process at the start that you have to go through, and we've got I say any because people can apply for UC without you even knowing. So, but the people we know about that are openly on UC, we do have that arrangement where we receive the money.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
How do you go about clawing back the arrears from people who do have legitimate reasons?
So now we have deposits we didn't. That normally takes most of it. But a lot of the time, fortunately, in the last 6 months or so, since we started developing a lot nicer stock, we haven't had the cases where people are refusing to pay. And a lot of the time, so I won't hold someone to a contract. So if they've got a 6-month tenancy with us and after 3 months it's not working out for them financially, we have that conversation with them.
Oh, fair.
Look, we can see this isn't working. You're struggling all the time, every week, every month, whatever. You're popping up that you're late. Do you think it's best maybe we find either cheaper accommodation or allow you to leave your contract early once you find something more suitable? And again, most people are receptive to that because they don't want to be taken through court. People don't want it. They just don't want to be taken through court. We don't want to go through court. And there's the odd case like this boy in Yeovil. We had to issue that court letter. And as soon as we did, he left. He didn't actually want to go through the process. Because the end result's the same, you end up leaving. But it's rare, I think on a whole, most of our people are really, really, really understanding. And we try to work. It's not in our benefit to hold them to 6 months worth if they're struggling. It's not in their benefit. We had one last week actually, and I think he owes 400 odd quid or something. But the deposit more than covers it. And just because he's left early and he's been a bit awkward towards the end, we won't hold the difference. If it's left as it should, we'll still refund the difference. We won't be one of those landlords that say, well, you caused me a nightmare and I've got this administration charge I'm going to put on it.
What's the point for 100 quid?
Yeah, of course. And now when people move in, we're presenting them with their costs. So we say, when you leave the property, if you leave it, we tell them at the start. So, typically you'll move out and then you go, right, get my deposit back. And the landlord or the agent or whoever you're dealing with says, sorry, you've got 260 quid's worth of cleaning costs, carpet cleaning costs, oven cleaning costs, whatever it is, repairs. So that's going to come out your deposit. Then the remaining goes back to you.
Yeah.
we actually give them a price list at the start. So we say, look, you're moving in, this is at point of signing. Do you agree to all of these costs coming out of your deposit at the end, should you not leave it satisfactory?
Yeah.
So they know before they even move in. So no one can ever come and go, oh, they stung me with 90 quid of a cleaning cost or whatever it is. They know it. And that's helped. But that's only very new. So we've not had any come to an end yet like that. That's only been in the last few weeks. But I thought, again, it was a good move about being upfront with tenants and trying to be as transparent as we can be.
I bet it's like really, it's refreshing from the tenant's point of view that they have an empathetic landlord, because you associate landlords with being like really harsh and ruthless, being like, give me my money, that's my money.
You were a harsh landlord, weren't you?
I was sound. I was so sound.
Cal was going around there at like 10 a.m. to fix the leaks and stuff, wouldn't you?
Literally, like you said, 24 hours. If there was an issue, like it would be 24 hours. I'd make sure it was sorted within that time period. But from the tenant's perspective, like it might not work out now with you working with them, but like in the future, they might think he was so empathetic towards us that we want to go back in with him.
Yeah, I'm actually now starting to get quite a lot of returns. Even last week, or the week before, I had maybe 4 or 5 people saying I rented from you before to me directly. I don't know what the team get either. And I'm not saying we're not harsh. Yeah, if our chase process and our expectation of rent payment is tight, and we are on that. But equally, if there is a real reason, then we are also quite, not lenient, it's the wrong word, but we do work with people, definitely.
Just reasonable.
Yeah, we are reasonable. We really are reasonable. If someone avoids us and constantly avoids us, then it becomes a bit different and becomes, the chasing becomes a lot more. It really does. But ultimately, any one of our tenants that watch this who have dealt with me, I would like to think they all know I'm pretty reasonable.
Yeah, and I think just being black and white with things, like here's your costings, here's what it's going to do.
I think that will be a really big difference. I think introducing little things like that will show people, actually, you know what, these are good landlords from day one. And again, it's setting all of that tone to hopefully have a bit of a seamless tenancy.
Yeah, it's just getting them to read it though, right?
Yeah. No, I think we're quite on that with our process of how to do. And obviously I'm not going to disclose the ins and outs of our process because it's stuff I spend my entire life working on. I've spent 15 years trying to understand mentalities of tenants and what they're used to and how other landlords operate.
15 years in a game is heavy, but obviously, that was, I guess, a period you've been through, and there was a chapter before that. So let's bring it back. Obviously, where were you born? Where did you grow up?
I was actually born, believe it or not, in Southampton, which I'm very not grateful for, but I never lived there, fortunately, and I'm grateful to see Southampton get relegated this year.
You're a Bournemouth fan?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, ultimately I was born there, but I always grew up in Parkstone. My mum's still there now. We've lived there our whole lives, and that is my stomping ground, and I'm very proud of it to this day. It's not an easy place to grow up if you're not prepared to I suppose, if you like, involve yourself with the environment to a certain degree. But yes, I don't have any issues with it. I like it. That's where I come from. It's streetwise, and that's what I think got me on in life, really, and made me realise as to what you need to earn and how you need to go about working. And yeah.
For sure, mate. And I think, we're all products of our environments and where we grew up. I actually went to Asda in Camp Heath the other day with my missus.
That's a bad Asda, that is, by the way. I don't know why you went there. I would have gone to the one in Poole.
Oh, no, we had gone to Broadstone and we want to get a drink on the way back to Bournemouth. But went in the Asda, my missus says to me after, she goes, your chest come out. I said, I can't help it, babe. I said, that's your stomping ground. That's where I didn't even realise it. She said, you walking around with your shoulders back.
That's your ground though, mate.
I know, mate. I am a Heath boy. It is what it is. But mate, obviously, putting it back, what you like growing up, what were you into?
So I always just wanted to play about, really. I wasn't the kid that say would always be in trouble with the police, but I certainly played the line, and I was just, I don't know. Looking back, I don't think actually now people probably look back and go, oh, that's bad. But at the time, it was just
being kids, playing around,
being kids in that environment. And it's one of those things actually, and I bring it on with me now. You have to be in like my business, you have to be in the environment to understand it. Yeah. And it's an awkward business. So you have to be in it to fully understand it. It's not a black and white industry. And the same with growing up, really. You had to be there to actually understand how you operated and why you did what you did. But we just messed about a lot, a lot of messing around. And now I don't know, because my nephews are sort of that age I was when I was playing about, but I don't know whether they play about like we did. But there's always quite a good group of us, but we're just up to shitbag things, really.
Yeah,
it was, when you're a young lad and you consistently get told like, oh, that's being naughty, you shouldn't do that. You almost want to like do it. You want to explore the naughty side of it. You want to play it with your mates. Like that's fun when you're a young kid.
It really was fun.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
So
you know what I mean? Like, I look back at it now and I'm like,
yeah, it was a good group of us. It was maybe like 8, pretty much any day even just in our road, there was like 8 or 9 of us that would always be together. It's really, really funny.
And it's also like when we had a similar group when we were younger, like the first group before, we got a bit older and we started hanging around together. But it's also like you're just together every day.
Yeah, we was
just
really
every day.
So and it was so common, wasn't it? You remember that thing? It doesn't happen now, I'm sure, but not to see if your mates coming out to play. We'd be gone like 9, 8 o'clock
8 a.m.
You're gone. And as soon as it starts to get dark, which in the summer, as you know, is like 9, half 9, whatever it is, that's when you're like, should start to think about coming home. But you're like 45-minute walk away from home.
Yeah. It's an hour and 15 minutes away. And you're thinking, I can't be fucked to walk. Mate, my mum used to send me out, honestly. And she denies it now. And I say, no, it's actually happened because I was there. She sent me out at 8 in the morning to go play football all day and do whatever with the boys. Without £1 or a bottle of water, mate.
Yeah.
How can you
There's only one way you're getting that
that's
bottle
insane,
of water.
Isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
With no money.
You'd have to go to one of the boys' houses and then you'd all like stock up on water or whatever, or you'd fucking rob Co-op.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I remember getting caught once with a bottle of apple juice like this big.
Why did you do that as well? I did the same. Why would we, like an easy object? You're like, I just have that Freddo bar. Yeah, I know, but instead you've got like a
2-litre bottle of apple juice.
Yeah, you've got a multi-pack of 1.5 litres roller
Sunny
cola
D,
stuff. Sunny D.
Yeah, I used to shore up Sunny D, to be fair. Mate, I have no idea, mate. Just young, stupid, and just thought you could get away with it.
Yeah, but again, I think that's part of it, and that probably goes on a lot today. But people now bear down on it, and then it's like, just back then, I think a lot of it, and maybe it is now. Maybe I'm just older and don't see it. But back then, it was certainly like, they're just being little shits.
Yeah, and also like, I think it comes down to like not having camera phones. I think that plays a huge part, mate. Like
you told me before about your flip phone.
Yeah,
I never even had a flip phone.
Yeah, you were on the old Nokia 3310s.
No, before that 52.
5210.
5210.
I don't even remember that one, to be fair.
I will buy you one. I will buy you a 5210.
They all had the snake on.
So, yeah, they all had snake, but that was. I think Snake 2 was 3310.
Oh, Snake 2.
I remember, to be fair. But mate, obviously, being like, up to standard normal lad stuff at that age, what were you doing at school? What did you decide to do after school?
So again, like most men, probably boys, whatever, at that age in those environments, you have a very limited career path, which is just manual labour, basically. If you're a boy, if you've got a cock and balls, you are going to be a builder, a mechanic or an engineer. No other industry exists to you. They're the only things you'll ever do. So I wanted to be a mechanic. As I told you before, I wanted to be a mechanic. And the guy there, after my work experience, which I adored, and I probably would have been a good mechanic, actually. I adored, he said, just the way I was picking things up and talking to him about stuff and the way I was, he said to me, he said, don't become a mechanic, you'd be wasted. And it really did stick on me, and he'll never listen to this, but if he did, Mike, thanks for that advice. But yeah, that was where I was with it.
Isn't it weird how
I'll never forget that conversation,
That's what I'm saying. Like how one strapline from someone who you respected at the time.
I'd only met him for about a week or so for what's work experience, 10 days, 2 weeks, I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah. But like that one bit of advice changed the whole trajectory of your life.
he was, and I really wanted to be a mechanic, by the way.
Isn't that mental though?
Yeah, I really wanted to do it. And then afterwards, obviously as you get older, you start thinking about the gym and looking good and trying to impress girls. I thought I'll be a personal trainer, loads of birds around, but then realised there's no money in it. Realised they wanted me to work Christmas Day in a bloody leisure club, and I was like, this is not for me. Can't who Christmas Day? So I come out of that.
When you were doing the PT, and obviously, you know, that probably stems from having sort of like a fitness background. Did you play any sports in that when you were younger?
Football, I just love football. That is all I loved. I would play, I had older brothers, and they would have their teams. I had my team, so I'd always go to their trainings with them, and you'd be playing with older kids and men, really.
What position you reckon Dean plays, Cal?
Centre back.
I do know. I say now. I stopped a few years ago.
I reckon you're an Andy Carroll, mate.
No, I'm not.
That's harsh.
I'm not.
Nah, just big man up top, boost on the nut.
Andy Carroll's
Andy Carroll used to be decent, mate.
The only thing we have resemblance of is probably zebra wallpaper or something like that.
centre back. It's got to be centre back.
Yeah,
surely.
I was up until a couple of years ago when I stopped, or a few years ago. But before that, through my childhood, I always played in goal.
Curveball, mate. They always say keepers are a bit of a nutter.
I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I really enjoyed it, and I wish I never stopped. And yeah, I was playing all the time. Didn't ever make it anywhere good, but we played. For weekend teams, we played at a fair enough standard and played with some good people. And yeah, that was really how I spent my time. Obviously, I think we all went through the skater stage when you're like 7 years old or something.
I don't think I did, man.
Yeah,
you
we're
not?
our
What?
bag, mate.
You didn't have like spiral jeans and that with the with the chain.
Couple
and stuff.
flame shirts and that.
I did have a flame shirt. I had a helmet with flames on it as well.
The thing is, we went through. I don't know if Jack did, but we went through the surfer stage of like Hollister, Abercrombie.
Do you know? You say that the stage. I went into Hollister the other day, and I actually bought 3 shirts from there, and it brought me back to my youth. Mate, they did some lovely linen shirts. but
No comment.
Silence from us.
No comment.
Thing is, mate, you've actually got decent swag. Yeah. Like, what are you buying Hollister for, bro?
a very comfortable shirt. Maybe I'm at that age. I'm after practicality.
That's hilarious.
Honestly, lovely shirts. And I went through that stage after, but that was like later for me. I think I was like early 20s was like the Hollister stage for me.
Probably the same as us, because we were probably about 13, 14,
about
15
right.
maybe.
So,
So yeah, it's probably about the same time.
And then I think we hit pikey phase, didn't we?
I think that was before, to be fair. Yeah, it was before. But yeah, like Chavy stage, like
Cabrini.
TN.
TN.
Do you remember,
Yeah.
were you around for shot jackets?
What's that?
No, Google them.
No.
Shot jackets, mate. They were big news. TK Maxx. And back in the day, TK Maxx didn't put tags on their clothes. Not that meant anything. Of course, you'd still take it to the till as any other conventional teenager with no money would.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were big in their shot jackets.
Yeah,
They're the most uncomfortable. They were made out of like this foam and netting thing, and you like walk around like that. It was.
You're not selling it, mate.
Do you remember when YSL just randomly started getting sold in Sports Direct? You could get like a YSL shirt for like 30 quid.
Yeah.
Do you remember
Imagine
that?
doing that now.
I know, yeah. It's just ridiculous.
Was it around when Sports Direct wasn't Sports Direct?
Yeah.
JJB?
No, it was Sports World.
Sports World, that was it. I remember it.
Killed Lonsdale.
Yeah.
just killed it.
Yeah. What did they did Everlast in there as well, didn't
Yeah,
they?
still do, I
Everlast
think.
and Lonsdale. Yeah.
They still do.
Because my first boxing shoes and shorts were Lonsdales.
Oh, they're the worst boxing boots.
I know, yeah,
They're
my
so
mum got 'em.
uncomfortable, aren't they?
It's horrendous, mate.
So uncomfortable.
But obviously, just to pull back, you start doing the PT and
I wasn't even that. I worked in a leisure club to start an NVQ in personal training, fitness instructor, and I got 6 months, 8 months into it or something. It just wasn't for me at all. Wasn't the environment, because half of it, especially, all right, PTs are different. Maybe they're different. I don't know, because I never followed it through. But in a leisure club environment, you spend half your time
lifeguarding.
yeah, and like cleaning out the hot tub and like jet washing the steam room, and you're like, fucking hell, This is not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
So,
But obviously going from mechanicking to like always wanting to be one to like PTing, it's almost like it's not what I would have expected from that guy saying, you're wasted in being a mechanic. So
well, again, it's because your options are limited. No, that's wrong. Everyone's options the same. but your mindset of options are limited, and you think, oh, that's still a manual job. And that's all at that time in my school, certainly, that's all you're thinking about is like, I'm a man, so what manual job shall I do?
Yeah.
And obviously that's all changed now with the likes of this and YouTube going big. But then that was all
that is how it was.
That's all I knew. Yeah. So, it was just another option really of a manual job. I didn't fancy laying bricks or anything. So it was just another option. I thought I could earn some good money. I looked at it and thought, oh, what were they back then? 10, £15 an hour or something. I thought, oh, they're charging 10, £15 an hour. Great. I can make some good money here. But it definitely wasn't an industry I wanted to follow through.
Did you know at that point it was just like a stepping stone, do you think?
I don't know.
No,
I don't know. I just looked at it and thought, this is a job, this is this. And then when I finished that, I thought, right, what do you really want to do? And it went back to the mechanic thing. I love cars, as you well know. I adore cars. They're my thing that gets me motivated.
Favourite car off the top of the head?
Pagani Huayra.
What colour?
What's that?
I would probably go, I don't know. I probably wouldn't be fussy over the colour. I really wouldn't care over the colour of it.
Well, give me a colour, come on.
They're all normally two-tone, but I'd probably go as much carbon as I could with some form of graphite grey or something.
Yeah, that's sick.
They do a nice burgundy one actually, which is lovely.
What about you, Jack?
P1 McLaren.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if I was going to get a sports car, if I was going to get like a luxury car just to like be driven in or roll around in, it's got to be the Phantom. But you know, if I was going to choose like a nice sports car to have a race around with, yeah, I'll go for that. I'll probably get it in orange. Yeah, just a bit of a curveball, be quite loud. Orange. I saw one in orange. It's on my vision board actually, and it looks sick. To be fair,
keep it on the vision board, mate.
I think for me, it'd be a Cullinan. Rolls-Royce Cullinan.
Yeah, outrageous
gangster
car.
Yeah.
If I had to pick anything, I'm not actually the biggest fan of like sports cars.
I
prefer like the 4x4s.
I guess
It's got to be black on black as well.
They're just fun. When you drive a sports car, when you drive a supercar, they're just fun.
The thing is,
really
as well, is there's
fun.
something about being a man. Actually, to be fair, don't get me wrong. When I say I don't like them, there must be something about a man when you just want to drive fast. Like when you get in a car, you just want to cane it down the road. If you've got a sports car, I imagine it's probably quite fun.
1,000,000%. Obviously, I only ever stuck to 30 when I've driven them, but this is, I don't know. It's the starting them up, the feeling of sitting in it, and it is nice.
It's a sense of satisfaction.
It is. And obviously some people don't like cars, and that's fine, but some people have other things that motivate them. But for me, cars have always motivated me to see something on your driveway or something to push for is not the end goal. And I think a lot of times people look at people with nice cars and go, oh, you flash prick or whatever. But actually some people might just do it just to be flash. But actually, I believe most people do it because it's something, for whatever reason, rightly or wrongly, because it's just a material object, but it's something they've chosen or their mind's chosen that motivates them. It always has me. It's something I just think it motivates me, wants me to do better. That's just how I am with them. I don't just see it as just like a material object for everyone to look at and go, oh, wow, that's cool. It's a real motivational tool for me.
Man, I rate it. Whenever I see someone in a fast or like a sick car, I rate it. I've got like instant respect. So I'm just like, they've earned it. Well, I don't know if they have earned it, but like, that's my primary focus. I just think,
well, look, you say that if they earn it or not, there comes a point where, okay, well, let's look at the different scenarios. It could be the family's car, dad's car, whatever. They've given it to them. But I've got kids, and I'm sure if you had kids, if you had the ability to give your boys a Lamborghini or give them a Citroen Saxo, what are you choosing? And that's what they like. Yeah. And if my boy, he loves cars as well, obviously, probably because of me. But if I could see him rolling around in a Range Rover or a Cullinan over a Rover, like I did, then it's probably an avenue I'm going to gift them if I could.
I agree with you, but I would make him earn it.
Of course. Yeah, of course. And that goes back to it. I mean, there are the very few people that are just spoiled and just get given it for nothing. But most of the time, any successful person will also drum in a bit of success to their children as well, and they'll sort of follow suit with that. So there is, whether you finance them, lease them, whatever, you still got to be able to put the fuel in it. You've still got to be able to do the £500 a pop tyre. You've still got to be able to pay few grand a month finance or lease costs, whether you've bought it outright. And I hate it. It's my pet hate when people say, oh, they financed that or they've leased it or whatever. That's the smart thing to do, by the way. If you've
Who's going to drop 200 bags on a car, like outright?
When you can finance it.
You're going to trade it in after a year anyway, more than likely.
Yeah. So one way or another, you still have to pay for it. So I don't know. They've always motivated me. They've always been my thing.
The thing is, if you put the actual tangible object of the car aside, you've got to respect that whether or not it's been given to a kid or, the dad's probably worked so hard for his whole life to be able to drive that car.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So you've got to respect the graph that it's taken together.
Absolutely right. And also, forgetting all that, do whatever makes you fucking happy.
You should just do whatever you want to do, mate.
Like, who's to say, oh, he's a prick for that, or you shouldn't have that, this person to judge it. Just do whatever makes you happy. Yeah. I was talking to someone not long ago, about a month ago, and they summed it up to me. They said, by the time you've hit 65 or whatever, your life is going to start to go down. Yeah. Health is going to come into it. Your actual physicality is going to come into it. Your ability is going to come into it. And I'm not saying at 65 your life's over, but slowly, you'll start seeing over the coming years, you'll be having more hospital appointments, more doctor's appointment. You'll probably be having a set of milk bottles over your eyes so you can see.
Higher dose of TRT.
But if you look at it that way, I'm 33, so I've lived half my life now.
Well, maybe a third, hopefully, Dean.
But do you know what I mean? Really lived. I'm not saying, like, even if I lived on till 90, between 65 and 90, how much excitement are you going to generate? Really, because your actual physical ability to do it is going to be reduced. So,
unless you do what Jack said and increase the dose of
do some stems, do it all, mate.
But whatever makes you happy. So who am I to judge, or who's whoever to judge on what people do to make them happy, whether it's a 500 grand car or not? Yeah, if it looks in your face, so be it. If it's a watch, if it's head to toe in Gucci clothes, whatever makes you tick and whatever makes you happy, I'm a massive believer. Get on with it, because believe me, more than anybody, I know what it's like to live life unhappy. Yeah, so
for sure. And mate, I'm with you on that. And also, it's like each to their own. So if someone wants to do that, why do you even care? Do you know what I mean? When people moan about
it, how does it make an impact to your life? What Joe Bloggs drives?
I know, yeah, mate. It's mental.
I hate the judgment. Or how does it matter what how they live their life? How does your life change?
Exactly.
If that person's on the street or they're in a mansion, how does your life change? If it doesn't, don't care about them.
Yeah, or just take inspiration for it, or just ignore
it. Like, yeah.
It is, yeah. It comes with it, and I think the higher you get, probably the more of that envy and jealous you get, especially when it comes to like flash things, right?
Jealousy is massive, and jealousy is the worst trait ever. And do you know what's worse about jealousy than anything in the world, right? Is people there should be rehab for jealous people, because people deny it. The amount of, you say, you're just jealous. No, I'm not. Well, why are you commenting on it? Well, I just think it's stupid. But why do you think it's stupid? No one can ever really justify it. And it boils back to jealousy. But no one admits they're a jealous person.
Yeah.
And one of my friends does. He said to me not long ago, he's got, I'm just a jealous person, dude. He's like, I can't help it. I'm jealous if my woman, if someone's commenting on my woman's picture, well, I'm jealous about that. As am I. Yeah. But I'm not jealous over people's achievements. And that's where I think we should adopt the jealousy rehab. Maybe I should start one up, and where people can go and actually understand what jealousy is, and realise, oh, actually, yeah, I probably am jealous.
The thing is, Dean, you say that you're not jealous of people's achievements, but probably ties into the fact that you're obviously aiming and striving to achieve things yourself, and you have achieved things as well. So like, you're looking at it from your perception, you've achieved things, so you don't really have to be jealous. Whereas you get people who haven't achieved anything, who maybe want to, but they're not doing it. Yeah,
it's like a lot of deadbeats, isn't it? Yeah, it comes from them in particular. Yeah. I'll always take my hat off to anybody trying, and I think that's just how you should be. Even if they're trying and they're not succeeding, or if they're trying and they're succeeding, they're giving it a punt.
Listen, so many people out there don't want to try, but more than the people that don't want to try, and a lot of the reason people don't want to try is they're so worried about the backlash of the failure.
Yeah,
because so many people are quick. There's so many people that want to see people fail. And they don't think they do, or that, they don't portray that they do, but they do.
Yeah.
And I think that's what stops a lot of people trying. where honestly I couldn't give a fuck.
I'm so with you.
I don't care. People are always going to have their opinion on you.
You'll never change that as well. That's the thing.
Again, it goes back to, does my life change because of what you think of me? No, it doesn't. My life changes because of actions I take. So I'm not worried about your opinion. I'm worried about my actions.
Best way to be, mate.
I'm with you on that, mate. Do you believe in karma?
Of course.
Yeah, I thought you might.
Yeah, of course I do. I believe I'm massive on I'm massive on manifestation. People think it's nonsense, but again, think it's nonsense, right? And I'm fine with that. You believe what you want to believe. Some people believe in like an 8-armed elephant or something. So it's like, believe in whatever you want to believe in, but also, what is wrong with constantly trying to tell your mind to have positive thoughts? Believe in the end goal. I don't believe in the end result of manifestation. But what is wrong with trying to, or having someone around you that constantly just tries to think of positive thoughts? There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing negative can come from that situation. Trying to keep their mind positive. No one should question that.
I don't even understand how people question manifestation. It's like, if you focus on something, you don't think there's more chance of it happening.
Of course.
It's delusional. Not think that. Do you know what I mean, Cal?
Yeah, I think it's the more, when you say people don't believe in it, it's more the generic, like, oh, you're saying that you're dreaming of having X, Y, and Z and you're just going to have it. It's like, nah, that's like a terrible example, because that's what a lot of people say to me.
They do, yeah.
People say that, and you hear people say like, oh, manifestation's fake because you can't just wish that you're going to get it. It's like, well, no, like Jack said, if you are putting the strides in, you're trying to achieve it and you're doing everything in the right direction, you're more than likely to achieve it.
It's mindset, yeah. And in this world, you have to keep your mind strong.
100%. And also, it's the subconscious. So like, if you are manifesting, you'll be taking actions without even consciously thinking of them.
Absolutely.
To achieve those goals.
Absolutely.
And
right.
like, people that can't see that, they're donuts, mate.
Yeah.
They actually are.
I like donuts. Maybe they're not donuts.
Dean, I'm quite interested. The conversation that you ended up having with the mechanic on your work experience, was that the first inclination to yourself that you thought maybe you were not better, but you were destined for greater things than maybe just being a mechanic?
Maybe. It sticks in my mind a lot. I could tell you exactly where we were driving. We were on Herbert Avenue, just past my school actually, and we were coming up the hill on Herbert Avenue towards the Honda garage. It was literally just as we passed, it goes down into a dip by the Trinidad field, and we were coming up the other side. We were in a blue Honda Civic. I remember it vividly. And
that sounds like an anchor, bro.
And so maybe you're right. Maybe, I don't know. But
before that, before you had that conversation, did you ever think to yourself that I'm sort of destined for... No, because the environment I was in was just, you were just getting by, and the people around you were getting by as well. And we were doing all right. Even as kids, we were still managing to have a little bit of graft and doing our paper rounds and flogging our paper rounds out to other people for a couple of quid more, signing up saying you'll do it, giving it to your mate for $2.50 more a week or whatever it was. So that's your business acumen started back then.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but you don't look at it then. Really, you're just like, I just want to be able to buy a baguette, a chicken and mayo baguette at school lunch.
Yeah, mate, a couple of quid, mate. It's just what you need.
Yeah, so that was all it really kind of, I didn't really give it much thought then. I can't say I was an Alan Sugar or something back then thinking, yeah, this is a great business. But
I think when you're in those environments, you naturally have to make a couple of quid. So then, because you naturally have to make a couple of quid, you're not thinking about it. You're just thinking about the outcome of, say, like, get some lunch at school or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's how it's like naturally becomes like
part of your life, part of your routine. It did become routine. It really become routine. Making lunch money became routine. However we were going to do it became routine.
Yeah. And because it becomes routine, then it's just like reps. It becomes easier and easier and easier. And then you start being able to spot, I can make a couple of quid there. Could make a $5 there, $10 there, 50 quid there. And then it grows from there, right?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Well, I always brought chicken and mayo baguettes anyway. So.
I'm a big fan of chicken and mayo baguettes, to be fair.
As you can tell from my physique, so am I. I started then really. But that conversation sticks in my mind so much. And I wish I could meet the man again. I really want to meet the man again.
What would you say to him?
Why are you still driving your Honda Civic? If he is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just again think it's nice to show gratitude.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'd say to him, but I'd certainly relive that moment.
For sure. No, that makes sense. So obviously after the PT You give it a stint for 6-7 months.
Yeah.
What do you decide to jump into next?
So then back to my love of cars, thought, I'll sell cars. I'll be a car salesman. This will be amazing. So I know I'll be good at it because I was always all right, again, from childhood, talking to people and growing up quite fast. I was always all right with people in different environments. I always have been. And I thought I'd sell cars. And then there was just a little bit of sanity in me then that went, actually, is everyone always going to want to buy a car if financial problems happen? But I knew they'd want to buy houses. So I thought I'll become an estate agent, but no one accepted me because I had no sales experience. Which is one thing we're big on, by the way. I always try and make my recruits typically from people that don't have experience in our industry, because I suppose that's my little tiny way of trying to give something back to what I didn't get back then.
How many applications you put forward in order to be an estate agent at that point?
Oh, not many, 5 or 6. But again, I don't like to wait. I'm like quite fast, as you know. I just want to get on. And so then I saw a job advert come up in the Echo or something it was then.
Old school.
Yeah, to sell. I was at my friend's house in Bearwood and we were looking at it, and we both applied and both got a job doing loan brokerage on the telephone. And it was
dodgy.
It wasn't, and it was an amazing job, and I learned a lot in terms of sales, and it fitted because you only had such a short target window to make the sale. It sort of fitted my personality of how I want everything fast. Even now in my life, it's like I don't like waiting. I want it now.
I'm the exact same.
Yeah, like it has to happen all at once. I want everything all at once.
If I want something and I can't stop thinking about it, like,
Yeah.
mate, I want a Secret Labs chair. You know, the Secret Labs chair. Mate, I must have told my missus about 15
What
times.
is a Secret Labs chair?
It's basically just like a gaming chair, but like they're just levels. They're
I hope
just
not
look
for
sick.
gaming, by the way.
No, just because obviously I'm doing remote closing now, so I need like a firm, decent chair because otherwise I get a bad back.
Does it have like speakers in the head?
Nah. It's decent, mate. You should get one, to be fair. But I've said it about 15, 20 times in the last 3 days. It's in my basket. I've had an email from them. I'm like, I've tried chip someone on Facebook Marketplace.
What are they? How much are they?
450 quid or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're worth it though, mate. But yeah, I'm similar. If I want something, I'm fixated on it. So I get what you mean.
Yeah, I just think, so that's it really. That's it. Everything has to happen now.
So when you went on the phones, did you used to have like a natural inkling?
Yeah, I did. I like a duck to water. Right? It worked for me. It really worked for me. And then what happened is I saw a job ad come up for a trainee letting agent. So I went for it for a company, Enfields in Winton, and I went for it and took a massive pay cut. But I just thought at that point, I was like, you know what? This long term will pay off. And I suppose that then was my inkling of maybe I have a little bit of more savvy to me, because I was literally thinking, well, I can take a huge pay cut, but just go real long term. And it worked. Obviously it worked. Yeah.
When you say pay cut, what are we talking, like 25, 30%?
It's huge. I was like, I can't remember what I was earning in the call center, but it was few hundred quid a week minimum take home.
Yeah.
I was on like 11 grand a year basic as a trainee.
Yeah. It's a
So
big
it
jump.
was like,
That's harsh.
yeah,
That's actually harsh.
but I was living at home at the time, and it just worked.
Thing is, even if, for example, it didn't work, you'd always have the opportunity to go back to that as well. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I learned good sales then, and I knew as well that I would work in an estate agency environment. I just knew my personality. I knew my biggest asset, probably my only asset, is my tenacity. That is it. I am more than a dog with a bone, and I knew it would work in estate agency. So yeah, I had a really, really fun career.
What do you think it is about your personality which aligns with like a estate agency?
I think it's all from the upbringing, because you're involved in like a council estate environment. You're involved with so many different people. Like you're involved with your group of friends. You're involved with older people, because even older people in council estate environments are hanging about playing with their Subarus and Ford Orions and stuff like that. Yeah. And so you're always interacting with and I had older brothers, so they had older friendship groups, and you're always interacting with so many different people. So I just think, and I always got on in pretty much any environment I was in. So I just knew I'd be all right with that.
It's funny, isn't it? Because like even us now, like if I ever go into an environment, because of my experience with stuff, I always know I'm going to be sweet. Do you know what I mean? And it does come from being in those environments when you're young, just with like loads of different lads and like different schools and different football teams and all of that.
Absolutely that.
It just means you can fit into any environment if you need to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was. So I think I think that's what done it. And what's good about estate agency is to where I am now. You get a lot of landlords, you get a lot of property developers, but you don't always get, or it's very rare that you find a person that's done full circle. I've been the trainee. I've been at New Start letting agents, estate agents. I've been at experienced estate and letting agents. I've been the buyer. I've been the seller. I've been the tenant. I've been the landlord. I've been the estate agent. I've been the applicant. You know, I've literally seen the property industry full circle. And that doesn't mean I know everything, far from, because everything's changing every day. But you know it from all angles, if that makes sense. So
every perspective.
Yeah, so it helps you make a better decision. As I've always said, I always look for a get out clause in any transaction, anything that we're buying. There has to be a good exit strategy. And I see these people that buy stuff and post it like, yeah, I've got this return, that return. Yeah, well done. But your property, you've spent 300 grand on a property that on paper is worth 200, and you've converted it to your need, and that's great. Or you've done this model that is for your need. But what's your exit strategy? Like, if one day you had to sell everything, are you all right or are you fucked? And I think that was from 2008, seeing it all crash and seeing people literally that were fucked. They had one model. I don't have one model. We've got commercial, we've got resi, we've got holidays, we've got shops, we've got offices. You know, it's totally different. There are lots of different exit strategies, and I think that's so important and really oversighted in the property industry. And I think that's where people can get burnt. Look, I might get burnt one day, who knows? But overall, we have an exit strategy to move individual properties, groups of properties, to different buyers as well. It's not like I'm just looking for that one person that solely wants a HMO.
It's risk management, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think actually we've been good with that, and obviously the HMO industry and planning and stuff like that, with all the Article 4 legislation I won't bore you with, that came into play in 2013 or whenever it was, January, I think it was 2013. But they put limits on things and restrictions on things. And if you're solely captured in that one market, again, it could be tricky. Same as if your sole market is building super homes. I think one day you might come unstuck. I think there needs to be a diversity of who you deal with, what clients you have as well. If you're all a private client, I think you're fucked there. If you're all a commercial client, I think you're fucked there. As lockdown probably taught a lot of commercial landlords. So I think learning diversity and always remembering it must have an end out should you need to.
The thing is, Dean, you say that from your point of view because you've earned your stripes. Like, you've worked in every single industry and every particular part of property over the years. So like, you're able to have that viewpoint.
Yeah.
There's like people out there who might have just worked in one little section of the property market and they have one strategy and they're like, this is going to work. But like, you've earned your stripes, mate. So you're able to have the viewpoint and able to implement it as well with the Kingsley group.
Yeah.
I also think like you just can't beat experience. So like, because of those experiences and those different chapters in the different industries within the same industry with the different sectors, it just means that you're able to see things, from a holistic view, and you're able to manage that risk and deal with that client and be able to, work a deal with that person, because it all just molds into one.
Yeah. And I think I was the same even in a estate agency as well. When people were going after, I've probably told you before, but when people were going after big landlords or big developers, I always didn't want to. I always wanted the one individual deal, the one individual landlord, because if you can build a stock list of all individuals, okay, it's much more labour intensive, but it's much more safe. If Joe Bloggs takes his rental property away from you and he's got one building, it's not the end of the world. But if your whole business is built around 3 developers and one of them goes bust or one of them pulls the plug on you, your business takes a massive hit.
Yeah.
And I don't like being at mercy of other people. I just don't think it's safe for them or for me. I never will put myself in a position where I'm at sole mercy of other people, or my business is at sole mercy of someone else. There always has to be a positive exit strategy for everyone involved. And I think that's where a lot of developers will go wrong, and a lot of people coming into property, a lot of people ask me how to get into property, and I think that's where they could go wrong if they narrow it down to such a... There are times, obviously, in industries where narrowing something down to such a niche really nails. But in property, I don't think you want to narrow down to one tiny niche, because one regulation change or one competitor comes in with a slightly better idea than that in your niche, you're going to really be up against it. And there's so many things out there on bloody YouTube and stuff about people how to invest in that. And I think this is a timely point to make my pet hate in the property investing industry is when you watch these videos on YouTube and people say, I bought this property for 200 grand and I put this deposit down and I renovated it and then I refinanced it for this and I only left in 25 grand. So that makes my return on investment 30 or 40% is bollocks, absolute bollocks. Do not believe that, because a change in the interest rates changes that. And you can base that solely on what money you've got left in there, but without the debt in the first place, your return on investment is zero. So anybody watching these bloody YouTube videos, and there's a couple of successful people that pitch on this all the time, do not base your yield or return on investment on solely the money you've put in, because there is a liability. And without that liability, your return on investment is sweet fuck all, right? And people don't make that. You need to, anything we do, we always base our yield on the overall purchase cost. Every last pound of fees that have gone into it, if it's a bloody £3 land reg fee, any fee that's gone into it, any cost of development that's gone into it to the penny, which is recorded every single week without fail, that is then how we base our yields off that overall thing. And people aren't doing that for whatever reason. And
how can people factor in that have that return without factoring in the cost of borrowing?
I'm not going to mention anyone's names because they're obviously doing something right. But go on YouTube and you'll see some real successful people that you guys told me about that pitch that exact model, and that is where people will get burnt, because they enter into something thinking, oh wow, but I don't mind if the property goes pop because that's the mortgage lender's problem. Yeah, but then your return is zero because the mortgage lender's pulled the plug because it's got too tight at the back end. So
the thing is, you find a lot of people pitching that on YouTube who are usually selling some form of course on it. They make it sound really, really easy on the YouTube video, make it sound like you can get this yield or this percentage, buy my course for this much. And then like the people who are uneducated who want a quick way out, they usually end up buying it. And I've been one of them as well. Like I brought one of those courses.
How much did you pay for the course?
We'll come on to that later, don't worry. Cal, you got done over as well. This is when I was probably like 20 years old, maybe 19 or 20. And I brought one of those courses. Like I was speaking to the guy and he was like, he literally done me with it's usually this, but as you're like a nice lad and that, I'll do it for this today. And I think it was like, sold him.
Sold me. I think it was like $2,000 at the time or something like that, which like when you're like 19 is actually quite a bit of money when you
still
just work
today,
in Tesco.
mate, it's huge money.
Of course. So yeah, I got sold and then I did it. And afterwards I was just thinking like, I've literally learned fuck all, or what I have learned, I could literally learn on YouTube for like a couple of hours worth of research.
Yeah,
for sure. Starting the estate agent game.
Yep.
Talk us through it. How does it go?
So I was really fortunate that the company I was with at the time, Enfields, they had just they were a franchise from Southampton area, but they had just come into Bournemouth. I think they came into Bournemouth 2006 or 2007, and I was with them 2008, 7 or 8, I think. So so they were quite young, if you like, in the area. So it was quite a like grow this. So it worked for me again and my personality of right, let's try and get going now fast. But I spent a lot of time with the director. And he was showing me the ropes, really, because I knew nothing, absolutely nothing. I didn't go on a £2,000 course, and he showed me everything, really. Was training me. I'd be out doing viewings with him. He'd show me different processes. And then where they were part of a franchise, these two guys that now gone off, they own the Charters Group. I think they're in London, Winchester. Really, really successful guys. They did a bit of training with me. One of the guys there called Elliot, he did a bit of training. Then when they went off and did their other venture, there was a new franchise director or something, whatever his role was, a guy called Ian McKenzie. Really, really spent a lot of time with me, actually. And maybe it's because he thought I was good and worthy of spending so much time, because I had quite a lot of offices, but I seemed to see him at least once a month. And he really, really, really trained me on some things, and spent a lot of time coming through fine details, things about body language, things about how a person, where even dumb things, where to position yourself in a room, how to conduct the actual flow of the viewing to make it much more comfortable for people. And these training sessions that he did with me and the director of the branch are things that I teach the guys now today, and things they do, and things the processes they follow, and how we do viewings, and the questions we ask applicants are a lot of what those guys taught me back then. Most of it, actually, to be honest with you. And it's made me think more about every fine detail, where you stand, what's someone looking at, where are their eyes positioned, what are they, and what to pick up on fast, which I spend a lot of time with the guys training and recapping. Even though our team's been the same for a while, I still go over and over and over the same things, just as a little bit of refresh. And I hope they're grateful for it.
Yeah, the basics, mate. What do you look for?
So you want to, you ultimately want to look for someone's body language, and you want to be trying to identify potential issues. And I think if you can see someone looking at something for an extended period of time, when I say extended period of time, you walk into a living room or something, if you're glancing round and you're out, there's probably a strong chance that they don't like it. And you can probably, rather than wasting a whole ton of time on a viewing trying to push water uphill, you can probably nip that in the bud quite quickly by literally being direct and saying, look, what's the initial feelings? Yeah, do you like it, or are you not feeling that comfortable? There's a lot of things in sales, as you know, where people say, oh, don't mention negatives and don't talk about no's and this and that. And I agree with a lot of it, but certainly there's a property's property. It's not like being sold a pair of trainers where you go, yeah, these are good for running, that sole will be better once you've worn it in. It's a property, yeah? So the approach is slightly different. So we factor a lot into body language, and if you're seeing someone staring at something for a long time, the chances are that's probably highlighting an issue. So you're going to want to dive on that. If it's in a bathroom, they're probably, a lot of people don't like confrontation, as we know, and a lot of people see even just a simple question as confrontation, so they'd rather just not ask the question. And some people are worried about being stupid and stating the obvious, and so it's just about trying to iron all those things out, so you know whether this is going to be a worthwhile viewing, or if you're better off already in your mind as you're going around thinking of someone else to offer them there and then.
Because I'm moving at the moment, and I had a letting agent come over to the flat, and she didn't say a thing. So
wow.
I just thought, you're just an order taker.
Yeah,
do you know what
rubbish.
I mean? But I don't know if that partially comes down to the market at the moment, because
the lettings market's really, really fast paced, but not saying anything also comes down to service levels. And you've got to be a person with people. You've got to be you. And as much as everyone should have their own independent way of doing things, I believe that there is still, even on our little studio flats or a basic run, there's still a standard level of information you should be giving someone anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a whole, I don't feel, it might have changed now, but when I was in it, enough estate and letting agents actually invested enough time into the process of conducting a viewing. And I think it is a real process. If we're doing a block of flats, 10 flats in it or something, and you're turning up for a view and you're letting someone pick all 10, that's not good for them, and it's not good for you, because it will just blow their mind and they won't make a decision, and they one, you haven't got the let, and it's not about being a salesperson. It's about actually helping someone make a decision, because the lettings market is so fast paced. And by the time they've gone away to think about it, you've done 10 other viewings, they're all gone. So it's about picking a selection, understanding their criteria, and picking a selection of maybe 3 or 4 of exactly what suits them better, and letting them make a decision that way.
Yeah.
How far through your career as a letting agent did you think like property is my game? Like, this is what I'm going to do. And when did you start actually investing?
Probably about 2 days into my career.
And you know.
I loved it. I lived for that. And I worked for that company for, 4 years or whatever. And I worked most of the time 6-7 days a week. I absolutely lived for my job. I adored it. I wanted to perfect it. I wanted to be the best I could be at it. And it really, really worked for me. And went through my whole career like that. I wanted to be the best instruction taker there was. If someone's putting a house on the market, they're calling 3 agents as an average. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to win the most. I had a real pride, even though I was just an employee, of seeing the company boards up outside houses. And I took it very personally. I take quite a lot of things personally, actually.
I was going to say, mate, as you do with everything, to be fair.
Yeah, I take a lot of things personally, because I just want to be the best I can be.
I think that's a good way to be, mate. I wear my heart on my sleeve as well, so I know exactly what you're talking about. It definitely can come with detriment sometimes.
It does, yeah.
But also,
it does to your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely batters your mind when you can't help but take things personally.
Can't help it, mate.
But again, it's even like this business. When did we start investing? 2 years ago or something. Everything there was, at the very start, I was doing rent to rent, and it was just me initially. Yeah, it was just me driving round. It was just me dealing with everybody. So there's no way to not take it personally.
Yeah. How do you detach yourself from the outcome though when it comes to property? Because like it is based on the relationship, right? More so than say like a standard sales job, because the purchase price is so high, or
that's right,
they're living in it, right? So like it's more of an emotional deal as well as
absolutely is. Even on a rental, it's an emotional deal.
Do you know what I mean?
There's still a lot of money to people to pay when they're paying out, most of their wages on it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. It's emotional then. How do you, I don't detach myself. I can never detach myself, much to what my wife says all the time. She even said it to me yesterday. I don't know why you're getting worked up about it. It just the tiniest issue will drive me insane. So I can't, I've tried. And I don't think I ever will. It will always be personal to me, and probably more so now more than anything, because it's my bloody son's name over the door.
True.
Yeah, so I cannot help but take it personally.
What a good incentive for you as well, right? Like what good motivational tool, having your son's name as the company name.
Yeah, I think it's nice as well. It's nice for me to see it. It's nice to hear people say it. So when we started it with the rent to rents, it was a bad spot for me, a terrible spot for me. So
let's pull back. So the estate agents goes really well. You take to it like, a duck to water. And then following that, you sort of progress from the lettings into...
No, I was doing sales and lettings.
Sales and lettings.
Yeah, I've done sales and lettings. I started mostly sales actually, because back then estate agents and letting agents were separate things. And it only became through the crash that they amalgamated. And then in Bournemouth, a huge student drive and huge returns offered in student market brought a lot of sellers to the let to buy model, where they rented their house to students, generated good returns so they could raise another mortgage on that, pull their equity out, and then get the move they wanted. So that actually was nice for me to do both. And I did both. I did sales valuations, lettings valuations. I would be the one to do floor plans, photos. I got, really, really, really good at property photography. I can still do it now to a very good standard if I had the right camera and stuff. It was great. Really good.
And then following that, what sort of happens for you to leave that estate agent then?
There was no money in it. The online agents drove all the fees down, which made it less incentivizing. And you're always going out to valuations and you're pitching against 0.75s or 1%. And you're like, fucking hell, I'm going to do 50 viewings here to sell this property for what? 1,800 quid. And then I'm getting 5 or 7% or 10%, depending on what company I was with at the time, cut on that deal.
Is that how it works in terms of the structuring? So
Yeah.
you would only get 5% of the 1,700?
And some don't even work like that. There was a company here, I don't know who they sold out to in the end, U-Home, but they had a structure where the office had to hit something and then you would get a percentage. And you're like, fuck that. If Joe Bloggs is rubbish at his job, I ain't carrying him. But yeah, it was just one of those things. And with the market changes, I just had enough of it. And I did a bit of land finding after that, which was rubbish. Because if you're land finding, you've got to have a good person, or you don't want a good bank of people. You need 1 or 2 people that are prepared just to put their hand in their pocket and go for a deal, because land finding and good deal finding, you've got to be super fast, especially in Bournemouth. I don't know what it's like elsewhere, but you've got to be really, really, really fast.
Was that because someone else will just eat up the deal?
Yeah, straight away. And there's much more money in the town than anybody will ever realise. There's a lot of people with some deep pockets, especially in property, I think, because they know it's safe in Bournemouth. So you're always in a bit of competition. But it didn't work well. I didn't do it a long time. And I just had a total break. And as you know, I opened a tattoo shop.
Yeah. That is, that's a curveball, mate.
I needed a break. Mentally, I was exhausted. I had done, by that point, I don't know, 10, 11 years or whatever it is in the industry, non-stop. And I am, as you know, flat out with anything I do. It consumed my life then as well, 6-7 days a week. And I just needed a stop for 5 minutes to evaluate things.
What were you thinking at that point?
I wasn't.
Nah, just thought, I'll have a
I'm
break.
out.
You thought you were completely out?
I'm out for now, yeah. I knew I'd always go back into it because it's my skill.
Yeah.
But I just needed to stop a minute.
Yeah.
And what way did I want to go? Did I want to try and raise money and buy things? Did I want to do rents? What market did I want to be in? And ended up after about a year going into rent, stumbling into it with a business partner. Unfortunately, I never wanted to do it with him, but we were both there at the time when a landlord come to me and said, Dean, I've just got the keys back, please do this. And I was with the guy at the time. Yeah. I couldn't say, I'm not cutting you out. I'm cutting you out the deal. I'm doing this on my own, because he'd been begging me to come into it. And that ended up backfiring on me, and I lost a load of money through him taking it. That is all. Not through the business not doing well. That fucking done really well.
So let's just pull that back. So you do the tattoo shop. You're not doing the tattoos, are you?
I tried it once, just on one of the artists.
Yeah. You have a bit of a fair to say, a bit of a break, bit of breathing space, get your head straight, get your mind straight in terms of like the plan and what you want to do moving forward. You thinking about expanding into another shop by any chance, or just sort of?
I looked at it, but it was more fun and I needed a bit of fun at that time.
Yeah. And then at that point, someone proposes a deal to go into rent to rent.
Yeah.
Do you sort of close the shop and
No,
decide?
we left it running, and we did rent to rent as well. And then it became, obviously I knew it would go this way, which is why I just kicked myself, and I shouldn't have been loyal to that person at that time.
How important do you think following your gut is?
Massive now. My God, massive now. The amount of unhappiness that brought me. I cannot, for 2 years, it was like hell on earth. And so it just became apparent that obviously they knew nothing about property at all, but they were one of these people which are always around that think they fucking know everything about it. And they knew nothing. I mean, nothing other than they had brought a property for themselves. So it was always, if there was something, Dean, sort this. And I was just pulled from pillar to post. And if something went wrong, well, you're not good enough. That's how it was. And that's a conception actually across a lot of people. When something doesn't go that well in property, there's always another angle with it. Yeah. If you know the market and you know your industry well enough, you'll always find another angle to make it work. But people on the outside that don't know it, or even if they're in it but don't understand it, they will just see it as a negative thing and all hell breaks loose. But that's property and working in different markets. You sometimes have to change strategy.
You've got to be agile in any business.
Yeah, you do. But it just, and it was always me sorting the problems out. And in the end, I just had to go.
So when you went independent at that point, were you sort of, I guess, you poured a lot of money into it, and you mentioned...
No, I had no money at all. When I went independent on rent to rents on my own, I borrowed it. And that's where Kingsley was founded, if you like, and we had a hotel.
How did you get that first contract with a hotel? Like,
I've landlords, you know them, don't you? You've been in the industry in the town for years and years and years. You've got a whole arm of landlords, lenders, property professionals, whoever else in your phone book. It's just one of those things.
So how did the deal with the hotel initially look?
Oh, it's horrible.
how did it come about as well?
Someone called me and just said, "Oh, Dean, I heard you've gone on your own doing rent to rents, got this deal, do you want it?" And I just said, yeah. And that was it, really. It was a 45 bedder with an active live enforcement notice on it to not be used as a HMO. We got it running well for about a year, and then like a lot of problems in rent to rents, it wasn't set up from the start. Again, my fault. I was probably too eager just to jump into the deal. Whose responsibility was what? And when a roof goes or windows are needing doing and big heating expenses, you're talking a hotel, yeah. You're not talking a 1,500 quid boiler. You're talking 8-9 grand's worth of heating works, big commercial boilers at 3,500 quid a pop and stuff like that. It was... So in the end, it ended up closing. I had a rocky closure with the owner of the property, and he's left it closed since. So it wasn't just me that would have struggled with that one. But we did well out of it, and it brought me on to the next deal and the next deal, and it just kind of went from there. As Bournemouth's tiny, isn't it? So as soon as people started hearing you're doing rent to rent and you're taking buildings that people aren't prepared to take, it went from there, really.
What do you typically look to make from, well, not now, but back then, from a hotel in a year, rent to rent?
So I'll be honest with you, when I started it, I was literally like, you know what? If I can just get 10 buildings and just pull $1,000 a month from each, it's a lovely salary. And I knew 10 buildings I could manage on my own comfortably. I wouldn't need anyone around me to do that.
When you say manage as well, and it probably sounds naive, but I just don't. I'm that guy that
Doesn't know, yeah.
Don't know, I have no idea. When you say manage, are we talking about just like the tradesmen, if there's any repairs that require
everything?
the
So
tenants?
finding the tenant, getting the tenants in, turning it round, cleaning it, decorating it, making sure that everything's running, working, dealing with the problem if a tenant calls you with this, the non-payers, tracking the rents. I knew I could do that across the 10 buildings. And that's how I looked at it first, just make $1,000 a month out of each one. That was really how I looked at it, and I thought that was a nice steady number then to have a great life off, and it ended up going obviously quite well. And yeah, then obviously I approached James. Well, how it started is I was going to get just a normal buy to let, just do one at a time and go on that way. But
why did you decide to swap from the rent to rent model to the buy to let model?
There's always, because it's not. Again, you see all this on YouTube, but it's constantly changing. You're always at someone else's mercy. Who knows if that landlord goes pop? You've got a rent to rent, your business goes pop. It was a bit of a stepping stone to really, again, understand a slight different market. I dealt with hundreds of people that were doing rent to rent. I dealt with hundreds of HMO properties, but it was to actually experience it firsthand, hands-on. And that's, again, as I said earlier, a misconception of people. Unless you're in it, there's certain things you can see from the outside, but you don't actually know. Yeah. So unless you're in it day to day, there's certain things that are hard to come across and understand how to deal with. And it made me learn. And
like what though?
Just anything. Just to how do you avoid tenants sitting there not paying for a long time? How can you adapt your business to deal with the subprime market? And again, things I'm going to tell everybody my tips and tricks or whatever, because that's me and that's my business. But if you want to pay me a $2,000
I was going to say, mate, package it up and sell it to me for $2,000 on there, mate.
That's a bit ethos.
So after it all goes so well, Dean, you mentioned that you obviously started seeking investment. So
yeah,
at that point now, what was the plan?
Well, I because as I said many times in this, I don't do anything on like a small measure. I'm either all gunning for it, or I just won't do it. And it is my motto in the office: we do it with passion or not at all. And so yeah, I just wanted to go for it, and had to show obviously James the model, and he liked it and was interested by it, and he come up with some ideas as well of how we could tweak the model. And I said certain things I wanted to do in the HMO world, and how I wanted our properties to to come out. And we looked at it all, and he said, "Yeah, okay, let's go." Initially, he was going to lend refurb money and deposit money, but not just to buy one. Yeah, the one I could have just done on my own. It was to buy a bulk of things at once and really hit it and make a dent. And then it turned out that deal slightly changed, and we went on and we brought several, and here we are today. And that is it. That is how quickly it happened. 2 years to now.
And obviously, with that, you mentioned you had some ideas at the start. What was the initial business concept?
Can't disclose all that, mate.
Oh, fair point.
But my business concept has always been based around HMOs.
Yeah.
The main bulk, the main foothold of the business is around HMOs.
I guess rather than that, sorry, maybe that was a bit too intrusive, but that's why we're on a potty, right?
Yeah.
But what was the value proposition? What were you guys doing differently?
We can offer something to someone that's quicker and easier to move into, which means our voids are a lot less. It also means we can capture a larger market because other people aren't wanting to capture those people. And it means because sometimes if you're in a subprime area, you might be able to get a bit of a premium because people are prepared to pay for an opportunity. As you found out.
It's like the fourth time you've called me out.
Don't worry, I thought, of course, for more than that anyway.
But yeah, people are prepared to pay for an opportunity. So that was it really. And as long as that opportunity is not so far-fetched that people can't afford it and it works for everybody, it will long continue.
Yeah, that makes sense. So obviously tell us, you get on board with James and you two start, building out the business. How does it sort of grow?
So we went a lot faster, I think, than both of us imagined, but we were presented over the time with these fantastic deals, and it's kind of like...
Tell us about a specific fantastic deal. There must have been one that stands out to you.
I don't even think... The one we're on now, just coming to a close on a few weeks away up on the West Cliff, that was a 50-bed hotel. We're short of 47, just an old 2-3-star model, and we've turned that into 55 serviced apartments, because I believe the 3-star hotel model, as probably everyone in property does, is dead. Unless you're Premier Inn, it's dead. I think even Travelodge struggle with it, don't they?
I've never thought to go for a 3-star hotel. Trip away, treat the missus.
But you got more money than I have.
Well, no, I do
not. and so we developed a nicer, more self-catering stay with that. And the returns it generates, if you're looking at 7-8% return, 10% return, it's it makes a couple of million quid equity in that building.
Yeah, it's big, isn't it? As you work on those bigger projects and as you get bigger as a company, there must be more headaches with it. So a lot more. Do you know what I mean? What are some of the common issues you had with building the business at scale from foundation?
Didn't have enough bodies on the ground for starters. Understanding the difference of where to pay for the right person and what salary to pay for the right person, rather than I'm all about trainees, but there's certain areas where you shouldn't have, you need someone with a bit of experience. Anyone can manage a small refurb, but to do a hotel, you need someone experienced, and it's bit me on the backside on 2, and cost me a lot more and taken a lot longer than it should have. But I suppose that's about learning the business, isn't it? I'm not a tradesperson. I'm not a builder. I never have been. I just a landlord. So I couldn't initially spot where something was going wrong, maybe. And unless you're there watching every pipe that gets laid, every cable that gets laid, every screw that goes in, which is impossible. You can't be in 2 rooms at once. So, and that's been that was hard. That was hard, and projects have sat longer than they should have. But equally, I've made those decisions to leave certain projects to stand longer than they should have for inflation reasons. New build costs were going through the roof, and we don't normally do new build, but it worked out cheaper just to pay the mortgage on it than actually pay these excessive build costs.
That's interesting. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, and then in trades were becoming hard to find. So even if you did agree maybe to these higher prices, would the speed have been much, much better? And obviously a quick turnaround, it's all calmed down again. Now they're still a bit higher than everything should be, but it has calmed down a bit more. And it allowed us to get planning permissions when needed and work it a bit better. And again, through all that process, again, I've learned now I won't go into something without evaluating these certain points first. But that's all in fast growth. Yeah. We accumulated a lot of stock, a lot of stock in a really short, within a year, we had a lot, and a very small infrastructure.
Was that just like you boys went on like a bit of a buying frenzy?
Yes. Because they were good deals, and I don't regret any of them. They were all good deals, and they're all worthwhile having. The pain it's caused is hard, but that's
the infrastructure.
Of course.
Yeah.
And it's also understanding it's very easy for anyone to go, oh yeah, just outsource that, which is what most development companies do. But it's also having the right outsource person. Are you getting stung? And if you're going to pay a premium, does it mean they're going to turn it around quicker so you get your rent roll quicker? Then I'm all good for paying a premium. But with the way building's been, as you well know, after COVID and stuff, that hasn't even been the case. So you're paying a massive premium and it's still taking a long time. So, yeah, that's changed significantly now.
Have you experienced that as well with the market?
Definitely. So like you said, build costs are so much more. Also like struggling to find trades as well. Trades are really difficult to find and they've put their prices up so much. But I actually think they're pricing themselves out of the market as it slows down now. So at the time you're paying like X amount day rate or
what's like the increase? Like, because I've got no concept.
A lot of stuff that we found, like that their rates were going up like 20%, but that's just on, for instance, labor. And then you've got materials that in some cases materials were like going up 50%.
And the rest, I think the price on timber, I think at its highest went up something like 80 something %.
Yeah, plywood. I remember plywood.
So it's like nearly doubled, yeah. And do you know what? This is mad, right? Oh, we've never struggled with our suppliers, actually, probably because we put a nice amount of business with them. They've always looked after us. So we've not ever had a material shortage. We hit price increases, but we didn't have a shortage where it stalled things. But there was one time I remember talking to someone, I can't remember why I was in there. I was in Wicks, right? We never go to someone like that, but I was in there grabbing something because I was just passing. Again, that's sometimes a thing. We were having a conversation earlier about saving tiny few pounds, but the time taken to save those pounds costs you hundreds. So that's also something to factor in. So I was passing, I had to grab something. I said, oh, just out of interest, have you got any CLS in timber, yeah? For stud walls. And the woman said, we have, but it's in quarantine. I said, what? He said, oh yeah, because of COVID and stuff, we have to quarantine the timber for 7 days before we release it.
That is fucking insane.
What was wrong with it? To me, that epitomised the world at that time. But yeah, it was, we never really struggled. But yeah, one time, timber nearly doubled in price.
Yeah. That's nuts. But obviously, I guess that kind of brings us full circle to where we're at today. And I guess, in terms of the business and where you want to get it to, what's next on the cards?
So I always thought the idea of a float would be great, right? And the reason I thought that was because of because of the achievement, I guess, from it and the amount of money that you can extract from doing something like that. But it's my family business, yeah? And to have a load of boards around me, a load of people on a board around me to tell me you can't do this and you can't do that, I think in hindsight probably won't sit well with my personality. Again, because it's coming from actually working it and being in it day in, day out and seeing what we go through and a team go through and what they've done to change things and make things better every day. So maybe just the fact that it is my family business and my son's name and stuff, maybe I probably wouldn't now in hindsight want to do that. And John McCarthy in his book actually goes on to state that he probably wouldn't have floated in hindsight either.
What book is that?
Building a Billion.
You like that one, don't you?
I love it, mate.
He's local, isn't he?
I don't know.
I think is that McCarthy Stone?
Have you seen him?
Is that McCarthy Stone?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know if he's local. Is he local now? Should we invite him in?
Maybe not him, but the people who run McCarthy
McCarthy Stone's local company, so it's great to see. And
I was questioning myself. I was thinking,
Yeah,
are they legal?
it's great to see. It's great to read because you know about it.
Sure.
So what's the end goal for the company? I definitely believe we must build on our model because it's working and it's exciting for people. Our voids are so small. And when I talk about voids for people not knowing what they are, the time a property sits vacant for in between move-ins is so small. We had two come available Friday. They've gone. It's like, so there's a need for it. I want to do a lot more, as you see on my jacket here, supporting women's aid. I'm really, really trying, apart from donations, to try and create a better way of refuge for people in it. I'd like to go down more of those angles and some more supported accommodation. I really want to do that. It's something we're working with and on now all the time. So yeah, I think that's probably where it'll end up. And then I think once it's at a point, I know what value I want to get to in terms of the property ownership, in terms of how much stock we own and value wise. I know where I want to get to there.
You're going to drop it?
No. And then at that point, I think we make a decision as to what we do. And I probably believe at that point you've got other people looking at you then trying to take you out the game. And is the sellout an option? Again, I don't know, as I've always told you and we spoke about before this started, it's not always about the money. Everybody can live a great life off a few $100,000 a year. And I believe my skill set will earn me a few $100,000 a year. Not easily, but easier than most people would find it. So I don't see what more I'd need than that. So I don't need tens of millions of pounds in the bank. So it's not just about the money. It is actually about providing something and providing a change to the industry. And that is what it is about. It really is what it's about.
Obviously, that's kind of it from me today.
Yeah.
You got anything else you want to leave it on for?
I just want to say thanks so much for coming down. Well, us coming to you, I say coming down, but thanks so much for coming on today, mate. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Dean.
For sure, sound, mate. Appreciate it as well.
Cheers, chaps.